Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
In regards to the Bible, these words from President William McKinley. The more profoundly we study this wonderful book, and the more closely we observe its divine precepts, the better citizens we will become, and the higher will be the destiny of our nation. Amen. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. And we start a brand new week. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, and thank you so much to our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of wintertime driving tires, traction tires you need. And along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, with Nick and the crew helping you. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and we have our Pledge of Allegiance person. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb, and thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. Don't you dare be so long in calling back. I missed your silver-throated tones. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Zeb.
All right, God bless. Thank you so much. Nice man right there. Hey, we've got a lot of things to do this morning, and I'm going to tell you all about it right after we have our weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. Roger, good morning. How are you? They've got everything out there in the front yard, if you will, and all the tools and equipment. I mean, everything you need to get something done and built and finished. Well, stop over and see them. And don't forget that you can feel free to contact them for a lot of information when you don't know what you need. They can help. They understand. K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway, 678-3122. And right now, crank it up, wheels. Here's Gina with the weather.
Here is your weather forecast for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and honestly, it's going to be on the nice side. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the east-northeast, right around 10 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 22. We are expecting a high of 42 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with the low near 28. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 43. Now for Tuesday night, clouds are going to be rolling into the valley, bringing along with it a chance of rain and or snow showers before midnight, then a slight chance of rain after midnight, mostly cloudy skies with a low near 30. For Wednesday, 20% chance of rain after the noon hour, partly sunny skies with a high of 46. Thursday, 40% chance of rain, possibly some snow, mostly cloudy skies with a high of 46. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and great job. Always a very, very good weather forecast put together by Gina. And thank you to K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Call them. They'll help you with anything you need. K&R Rental, 678-3122. Later on this morning, and I want to reiterate that you need to be by your radio at 10:06 this morning tuned in to this program. Why? We have an exclusive interview with Ryan Bundy of the Bundy family from Nevada. And believe me, I'm looking forward to getting answers to a lot of questions and whys. I mean, I'm just going to let him go and tell us why this had to happen, and when it did happen, what were the ramifications and repercussions to his family, and then also the involvement up in Oregon with the Hammond family and the shooting of Lavoy Finicum. So we're going to talk about that at 10:06 this morning. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, federal holiday. And right now, I want to remind you, too, about Daryl's Cleaners. Daryl's Cleaners with Kevin and the whole crew at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You know, we don't give them enough credit. We take our clothes in there, and we've got stains all over them, maybe cranberry stains from Christmas dinner, or maybe gravy stains or whatever, and we say, here, fix them up. Well, they do. And they come back to you looking brand spanking new. I urge you to stop in and see them today. Kevin and Cindy, the whole crew, with the best cleaners anywhere, anytime. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in today. Had a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I got to tell you that I was supportive, and I mean this. I was supportive of watching. I did not watch the other games of like Pittsburgh versus Jacksonville because I am still very miffed, if you will, over the overpaid, underworked athletes that have taken a knee and disrespected our country. I did, however, watch the Minnesota Viking game, and I'm going to tell you why. Not one player, according to all the reports that I've read and the people I've talked to, not one player has, during the whole season for the Minnesota Vikings, taken a knee in disrespect to our flag and our country. So I supported them. And yesterday's game was absolutely a wild horse runaway. And in the very last second, on the very last play, Minnesota defeated the Saints on a 61-yard pass play to go to the NFC Championship. It was wild. Hey, don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. For all your heating, cooling, I don't think you got to worry about the cooling because we still got a whole bunch of winter left. And electrical needs right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. All your furnace filters, too, to keep your furnace running efficiently. Now, I know a lot of you say, oh, no, we're having spring. Look at this. 40s, maybe even 50s later on this week. You know that we're going to have the carpet pulled out from underneath us in the next couple of weeks. You know we're going to have weather, so be ready. Stop into Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They always provide warm winters and cool summers. By the by, too, you get hungry like I do and you want to really wolf down a delicious meal, stop into Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, at 611 North Overland in Burley and 291 Poline Road in Twin Falls. You know, breakfast, great. Lunch, great. Dinner, great. Anytime, all the time, great. Fantastic, with super nice people serving you. All you need to do is stop in today. You're going to thank me. Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And by the way, our next lunch bunch will be on January 25th. Denny's Restaurant in Burley. Yep, it's true. America's Diner. You know, the state of our union with what's going on in politics with the Democrats and the left is almost bordering on complete chaos and destroying the fabric of America. The pathetic left in general, they are destroying the good in this United States. And some of you might be offended by my comments here this morning. I have to risk that and say so be it because we have to tell the truth. Some of the Negro leadership in this country. I don't like referring to anyone by color like blacks. It sounds sleazy, and I'm not going to do that. But many of the Negro leadership in this country are absolutely, I think, hurting their race, and they're doing extreme damage to the future of trying to bring a lack of race and racism to this country. Look at what's going on right now with some of the so-called Negro leadership in Congress. John Lewis, Maxine Waters, Frederica Wilson, and others, all screaming racism against President Donald Trump. And anybody else in the road, automatically, they're a racist. Now, I want to talk to you about these three in particular. They have decided and they represent a lot of whites, blacks, Hispanics in their respective districts. But they've decided out of their own pure personality, sympathy, I guess, that they're not going to attend the State of the Union message because Donald Trump is a racist, a title they've hung on this man, and the title that they keep using over and over and over again, like Maxine Waters, impeach 45, Donald Trump's a racist, and they go on and on and on, creating more havoc and more mayhem. Now, the last couple of days, if you haven't heard this, you've been living under a rock. That there was a statement, or there wasn't a statement made in the Oval Office when the Democrats and the Republicans were meeting to talk about DACA and the wall, that President Trump had used the terminology, and they say it was so disgusting and so inflammatory. And I'm going to clean it up. I'm not going to be like the network people that have used this word in front of the kids and everything else. S-hole countries. You can fill in the blanks. And he asked the question, why, Trump asked this question, why are we, the United States, bringing in all of these people from supposedly these S-hole countries? You know what? Trump, I believe, is right. We are taking, and I don't care what the Times News had yesterday. I mean, the Times News is nothing more than a liberal slanted, heavy on that word, rag. We are taking at our expense, now mark my words on this, at our expense, those that have no jobs and no need or want to assimilate in this country. We're taking them in. I honestly believe in legal immigration from other countries. If they want to come here and they want to be American citizens and they want to go and work for the American ideal and the goals that we all have to prosper if we work hard and we can achieve in this country of opportunity. But we are being forced to take a lot of people from these various countries that are felons, that are rapists, that are ne'er-do-wells, that are absolutely here for a purpose of undermining our goals and our values in this country. Mark my words, it's going to get a lot worse. And I honestly believe on this Martin Luther King Jr. Day, after I heard this morning earlier his own niece, Alveda King, speaking out about how there is absolutely more disgusting racism today than ever before, I honestly believe that if Martin Luther King Jr. were alive today, he would chastise and correct the Negro leadership in this country. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It's a subject that we all need to talk about. You can't run away from this kind of thing. It's getting worse in this country every single day, and I don't understand why. I want to remind you about Dino Septic Service in Rupert. They do a job that you and I don't want to do. We don't want to pump out those septic tanks. You don't want to stand there and do that kind of a job. Well, that's what they're there for. Septic tanks pumped, and septic tanks and drain fields installed, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, liquid waste removal. They're there to serve you doing a job that we don't want to do. Well, I'll tell you what, the numbers to call in Rupert, 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. Dino Septic Service, and they just recently purchased Dennis Dockstetter's pumping service, so they're really expanding to help you. Yep, Smells cargo truck on the way from Dino's Septic Service in Rupert. All right, come on, folks. These are subjects that you need to talk about. Give me a call on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We had Holly Rowe on the program with us last Thursday, and what a nice lady talking about Pomerelle Place, a place for senior living at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. I mean, absolutely offering the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely, keyword, and comfortably. Absolutely, I urge you. I've had many people call me and ask me the number, and their interest is really at a peak for the Pomerelle Place for senior living, 677-8212. You call them today. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb.
Morning.
Hi. I get so sick and tired of this racist thing being bantied around. There is no other country in the world that accepts so much diversity into their population. And at the moment, it seems to me like we have had to bend over so far to prove that we're not racist that somehow we are bringing a lot of people in here who may be dangerous. And I don't know this for a fact, but I just feel like to prove that we're not racist, we cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because it seems like we're doing everything we can to prove we're not racist, and yet we're bringing in people that maybe we should be a little aware of.
Chris, about in 2007, I've said this story many times, but I want you to relate to it personally on my program right now this morning. In 2007, I was called a racist because I was absolutely adamant on this program. I was against Barack Obama even getting a look on a tour of the Oval Office. And there were those that came out in the state Democratic Party, some right here in Magic Valley, that are a bunch of absolutely hypocrites. They came out and they started that racist campaign against me. I still have all the newspaper articles. I have all the television interviews, everything that they tried to condemn me of racism. When at the same time, if you'll recall, I was supporting Condoleezza Rice to run for the presidency against Barack Obama. But then I was called a racist. And I have developed an attitude of pure hatred against anybody that throws that name against someone else, because it's absolutely a vile and very low thing to do.
Well, it's all of that, as well as it is so demeaning. America has been so welcoming, and we have been making the rest of the world have to set up and take notice. But now, as we have a new president, and the old one is in the background, not very far, anyway, it seems to me like now that he's the new president, he's got to prove 3 times that he's more welcoming than the last president. And you know what? I think people should be welcomed on their own merit, not on a certain amount of numbers that are coming up through the gate.
Isn't it racism? Let me throw this at you quickly. Excuse me. Isn't it racism in reverse? That Negro leadership of John Lewis, Maxine Waters, and Frederica Wilson would make all these claims and then say that they're not going to go to the State of the Union address. Aren't they exhibiting and promoting racism in reverse?
You know, I watch those people on television, and it's like a circus act. And I think that they just have to be in the limelight, and they'll use anything they can do to get on TV. They don't make a lot of sense.
Well, they're looking for their sound bites, but, there's got to be people in their constituency that are sitting there so embarrassed that they voted for John Lewis and Maxine Waters and Frederica Wilson, and they're sitting there going, we don't have any representation, and now they say they're not going to go to the State of the Union address? This is childish, and it's deplorable.
Do you know, if I were the president, I don't think I'd miss them.
Well, I agree with you. It's always good to hear from you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hey, have a good day.
God bless. Thank you very much. Nice lady right there. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I know that later on this morning at 9:06, Frosty and I are going to talk a little bit more about language of presidents and how this one seems to be so isolated. Whether Trump said what he said or didn't say what he said, my lovely wife went through and pulled off a bunch of computer stories that are on record as to presidents like Jimmy Carter, Simon Pure, Jimmy Carter, and JFK, and the worst defender of the English language as far as having a potty mouth, Lyndon Baines Johnson. But they don't remember that. They being the Democrats. They don't remember that because they've got selective memory. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists, they're just waiting for you to call and tell them what your problems are. Then they'll sit down and they'll have a meeting with you and design an exercise program that's going to help you get back to being you. And, of course, they've got that hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind anywhere around. And, boy, it helped me. And I know it can help you. Please call for an appointment today at 678-1191. 678-1191. The best. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, serving you. Really, really good people. I am going to give away, before I get into my next story, I'm going to give away a dozen cookies. I look forward to this. And none of the winners have ever shared their cookies with me. Anyway, Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. Great restaurant and a fantastic bakery. Oh, the cookies, pies, bread, muffins, everything. It's delicious. So don't forget, if you're hungry, oh my goodness sakes, that's the place to go, Sophie's Chatterbox in Rupert. Now here, this is for first-time winners only. First-time winners only, and I've got an easy one for this morning. On the old TV series Rin Tin Tin, what breed of dog was Rin Tin Tin? Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What breed of dog was Rin Tin Tin? Give me a call, and you might be the lucky winner of the cookies. Come on, give me a jingle real quick. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, I want to hear from you real quick. While I'm waiting for your call, the other day I was waiting to go through the car wash. I got to tell you this. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. I'll hold this until just a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Who is it?
Yes, it's Nolan.
Hello. Nolan, there's a lot of Nolans in the world. What's your last name?
Peterson.
All right, Nolan, what's the answer?
It was a German Shepherd.
What kind of cookies do you like?
Pretty well anything.
Well, okay. Well, you call Sophie's Chatterbox and tell them you'll eat pretty well anything. So just, you're the winner. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day. Nolan Peterson.
Day.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. German Shepherd is correct. And Rin Tin Tin with Corporal Rusty. Remember that? Oh, those were the good old days. Nolan Peterson is the winner. Congratulations to him. By the way, too, I want to comment on urgent cares of Magic Valley. Oh, my goodness, 3 locations to serve you and your family and your business. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley at 382 North Overland in Burley. Urgent Care of Jerome at 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. And Urgent Care of Twin Falls, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin. And helping you and trying to save you money on your health care. Absolutely. They always say you get treated, not seated. No appointment needed. Open 7 days a week with extended hours. Qualified providers always on staff. Don't forget, whether it's a sprain or a strain or a cut or whatever. Might be the businesses that need drug screening and DOT physicals. They're there to serve you at the urgent cares with 3 locations around the Magic Valley. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Urgent Care of Twin Falls, and Urgent Care of Jerome. And I want to personally say what great people they are. The other day, we ran into Kyle James at the car wash, of all places. And what a nice guy. He just walked inside and paid for my car wash. You know, it's the little things that make people just absolutely think, hey, these are just A-OK people. And he is, and they are, at the urgent cares. All right, we've got that out of the way this morning, and calls are welcome at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You want to hear something that is, when I first listened to this story, I thought, what? What? It could only happen in now a liberalized America. Bradley Manning, remember him? The Army traitor that let go of a lot of our private and classified information? Bradley Manning that doesn't want to be called Bradley Manning anymore because Bradley Manning is a transgender. But here's where I draw the line. Bradley Manning committed these crimes as Bradley Manning. And I'm going to always refer to this traitor, this despicable person, as Bradley Manning. I'm not going to change and alter the way I refer to him in newscasts. He committed the crime as Bradley Manning, and that's how I will remember him. He has been released from prison. I know you're not going to believe this, but seriously is thinking about making an attempt at running for the Senate seat that's open in Maryland. Let that kind of absorb through your ear canal for a minute. This traitor, and he was, that's not my words, he was a traitor to the United States of America, a pathetic transgender, Bradley Manning, considering running for a Senate seat from Maryland. Now, who in their right mind, which opens up another train of thought, would ever vote for this person? Regardless of the transgenderism, the traitorous attitude that he had against this country, the United States of America, and somebody or anyone might vote for him to put him in a Senate seat? Wow. We're all living in Kooksville if he got one vote. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There is no end to the lunacy that goes on in this country. Absolutely none. None. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. It's kind of like the same story, and I revert back to my high school biology teacher. You know, Mr. Jerry Sponham, nice guy, and I learned a lot from this man. I was not the most attentive student in high school, and there are probably those listening back in the Midwest that are going, well, yeah, I know. We were in school with you. We know what you were like. But, you know, I really enjoyed his classes and the way he explained things. But I would imagine, getting back to the premise of what I'm trying to say, that my biology teacher, Mr. Jerry Sponham, would be absolutely not rolling over he would be spinning over in his grave today because of the laughable idiocy of what's being promoted in many, many states right now of 3 genders. And I would imagine a lot of biology teachers are sitting there going, what? 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 Are you kidding me? Yeah, 3 genders. Now, there are states like California, Oregon, and others around the country that are going to try to push forward the 3 genders on your driver's license. Male, female, and It's not funny. I mean, we're creating a society of absolute idiocy. 3 genders, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. What do you think about this? I mean, how are you going to use those driver's licenses to get on an airplane or any other identification anywhere? I mean, are we not going to ask questions? Is this a terrorist posing as a female, or conversely the other way? How are we going to know who's who and what's what with this lunacy of letting 3 genders be created and more? I mean, like in the city of New York, I think, what is there now? I read that news story where they accept 48 different possible genders. Now, I'm just an old cowboy, but I'll tell you something. When you get up above 3 to 48, holy buckets, what's going on here? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Upset.
Well, I can understand that. I see how, that gentleman trying to run for Congress, that might be his only option left as far as employment goes, but yeah, it's kind of an unfortunate situation. I was wondering if I could comment on your interview coming up with Ryan Bundy.
I am very, very blessed, and I know who this person is. I'm not going to mention your name right now because I don't have your permission, but I wanted to thank you for all of the help that you provided and information for me to obtain the resources to get Ryan Bundy on my program this morning. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited to hear from him for multiple reasons, and I hope people will tune in and listen. I've only met Ryan one time, and I wanted to give you a quick story about that meeting. I had the chance to be at the Malheur Refuge when the occupation was going on. I was there for a morning and went to one of the press conferences with Bundy's and LaVoy Finicum and the other people who were. I was a little nervous. I had never met them before, and I didn't know how they would take having me and my family there. And they were extremely generous and nice. They made me feel like I had known them forever and just wrapped their arms around us. And they're not crazy. They're not traitors. They're just men sticking up for what they believe is what I believe. And the story I have with Ryan, after the press conference, we were walking back down to the main buildings, and my daughter, who was with us, she was playing with a couple of her younger friends and cousins, and she was wearing cowboy boots, I remember distinctly, and she got her foot stuck in a hole. And I don't know, it must have been a rat hole or something, but just her boot fit in there exactly right, and I couldn't get it out. And I'm not somebody who wears cowboy boots all the time, but Ryan stopped what he was doing and came over and helped her get her foot unstuck. He knew just what to do. He had her take her foot out of her boot, and then he pulled it out and put it back on her and checked her and make sure that she was all right. And I really, I admire. I was like, thank you. I appreciate it. He wasn't too big or too important, or what he was doing wasn't too big or too important to stop and, take notice of the little things. So that that's an experience I had with him, and I'm excited to have him on the radio.
Well, I'm very happy to have him consent to come on our program this morning, and we're going to do this in a kind of a longer form than most of our segments. We're going to have him start at about 10:06 this morning, and we are going to eliminate most of, not all of, the commercials during that hour, and we're going to go up until about 10 minutes to 11 with him, and with one break at the bottom of the hour, of course. But I've got a lot of questions to ask, including what happened down in Nevada, and also what happened in Oregon with the Hammonds, and then also the other principals involved. So it should be a great conversation. I don't know if we can get to everything this morning, but we're going to do our best.
Yeah, that's great. One thing I would be curious about asking him if I had the chance, and if his experience was serving as his own attorney. If you followed the case at all down in Nevada, he did not have legal counsel. He was counsel, and during the reason that the trial was declared a mistrial was because they found information that the government was holding back.
Right.
And
right.
Ryan Bundy was the one. He was conducting a cross-examination of a BLM agent, and was able to show the court was evidence that they were missing based on his inquiries of this BLM agent. And so I don't know, I found that very fascinating that a man acting as his own attorney was the one to bring to light something that really turned the case in their favor. And so I'd be curious to know what his experience was in defending himself.
Well, and I will say this, that I want to say this up front to you and everyone else in the listening audience. When you have an interview like this, and we're going to try to at length go into various topics, I want you and everybody else to understand that because of time constraints, we may not get to elaborate on any and all subjects pertaining to this story, but we will do our utmost best.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you for your call. God bless. Thank you. Caller number 2, are you still there? Good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Oh, no, I apologize, sir. They hung up.
Well, you don't have to apologize if they hung up. Thank you very much, Wheels. And calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. That kind of sums up everything except this. They have all the equipment to get any job done right. They've got a whole bunch of Bobcat excavators, and they've got them in all shapes and sizes, and they do come in all shapes and sizes. And they've got new and used excavators for sale or rent. And I know a lot of us are getting itchy. I know I've got spring fever already. And getting itchy to go out there and start cleaning this up or stacking that up, whatever. Well, I'll tell you what, they've got all the equipment rentals and all of the retail equipment sales of the equipment you need at Barry Equipment and Rental. Stop in and see them on South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. The best, and they are. Barry Equipment and Rental, serving you. Time for your phone calls, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a jingle on the landline. What is this story? And I'm going to talk about it after we do the weather, about the Obama administration and so many illegal, illicit, and downright anti-ally things that they have done while they were in office. And the deal about this Iranian terrorist in Israel, we'll talk about in just a minute. There's a lot of dirt coming out about the Obama administration. Right now, it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison. Caller, don't you go away. I'll be back in 60 seconds. Count them. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Dr. Christine Pickup. Oh, did she help me the other day? I had to go in there and did some work on my hearing aids and also my ears. And I'll tell you, she is the best when it comes to hearing. A great audiology doctor for over 10 years. Call for an appointment today at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's the lovely Gina with the weather.
Here is your weather forecast for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and honestly, it's going to be on the nice side. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the east-northeast, right around 10 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 22. We are expecting a high of 42 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with the low near 28. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 43. Now for Tuesday night, clouds are going to be rolling into the valley, bringing along with it a chance of rain and or snow showers before midnight, then a slight chance of rain after midnight, mostly cloudy skies with a low near 30. For Wednesday, 20% chance of rain after the noon hour, partly sunny skies with a high of 46. Thursday, 40% chance of rain, possibly some snow, mostly cloudy skies with a high of 46. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, the doctor that knows sound, knows hearing. I'm absolutely impressed every time I visit with her. She understands. Call for a hearing screening today, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Call today. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning.
Morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I was calling to see if you'd let me talk about one of your advertisers that does a heck of a good job, and I'm so thankful every day that I listen to your show and heard about him. That's Mount Harrison Audiology, believe it or not. I'm so glad I can finally hear and not have to say what every 2 or 3 minutes. I don't have to yell.
Well, that's awfully nice of you to say that. And that doctor of audiology, Christine Pickup, man, isn't she a nice lady? Absolutely a nice lady.
Very nice and willing to go out of her way to make sure that you, the patient, get what you need. And for those listening, this is just coming straight from a person, individual, with no coercion either way to talk about it. But I'll tell you what, it has made a world of difference in my life.
Well,
a big difference.
Well, I appreciate that, Riley. What else have you got going on this morning?
Well, out trying to avoid the icy roads. It's kind of got some frost on them, but other than that, just barely turned your show on because I've been on the phone most of the morning.
Well, you just drive careful. You know, a lot of times, Riley, you're a truck driver, and you can tell people, wow, it looks like it's good road, but then all of a sudden that black ice, that gleam on top of the highway, very slippery.
Well, I'm out here south of you about 4 miles, and the roads, it's a nice, wonderful day, but you got frost on the roads, and I'm driving a fairly decent-sized outfit, and it likes to slide just a little bit here and there, so that tells you just how slick it is.
All right, well,
got a lot of weight for downward pressure, but anyway, I'll let you go.
All right, my friend, drive carefully, please. Thank you very much. That was nice. That was really nice. Appreciate that. The Obama administration, Barack Obama, there's little things, not little things, but little items that are growing into big cancerous items against this administration every single day of the news week. Whether it has to do with the Iranian deal or whether it has to do with a story like this. The Obama administration allegedly warned an Iranian terrorist that Israel was going to get him, and had the means and the knowledge to get him. And Obama and his administration warned this bad guy for the sake of the Iranian nuclear deal? I mean, what else did this horrific administration do to put the United States on a chopping block? And I'm still going, simple question, and it involves one word with 3 letters. Why? Why in the world would you risk our greatest ally, Israel, and tell a terrorist that the Israelis are going to get this guy for the sake of an Iranian nuclear deal that absolutely every part of it has gone south and has not been a benefit to the United States? History is going to record the good, the bad, and the ugly of every administration and every president. But I honestly feel, because I am quite prejudiced against this man and always have been since his rise from the Senate, I think history is going to record that Barack Obama was, without a shadow of a doubt, the worst president ever in the history of the United States. Give me a call, please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Like to hear what you have to say. Holy cow, we've been talking about a lot of things, from Bradley Manning, the traitor, transgender that wants to run for the Senate. Certainly there couldn't be anybody on the Democratic side that would support and promote him. And then, of course, the language by Trump. They have come off the wall, the Democrats, in how bad Trump is because he said maybe and allegedly a certain phrase regarding countries. And, you know, the funny part of it is there are those that were in the same room that said, I didn't hear that, or I don't remember Trump saying anything like that. And it's funny that the accusation and the inflammatory remarks would come from a Democrat, Dick Durbin, that has been known to kind of light the fire and pour more gas on it. So what are your thoughts about this? Do you honestly believe that by what Trump said about the, I'm not going to say the whole word, countries, he is now a confirmed racist? Trump said what a lot of us are thinking, that, oh, there's good people that have come from all countries. I mean, I'm not going to denigrate any one certain country and say they're all bad. No, I'm not going to say that, for Pete's sakes. There's been a lot of good people come from any and all countries that want to take up refuge and possibly gain citizenship in here, the United States of America. But we are, in a lot of cases, taking the dregs, if you will, from certain societies and just letting them come in here at our expense, in more ways than one. And maybe it's time to tighten it up a little bit. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Zep, it's me again. Now you're talking about something that really strikes a chord with me. Anytime a Republican who's in office, or a congressman or whatever, says anything that the Democrats don't like, well, anything, period, they twist it, try to make up words, try to make it look worse than it was supposed to be, or fabricate stuff, and that's just the way they do things. They just, obviously everybody can see it. They lie, they twist, manipulate, just to try to get their people in power so they can go ahead and manipulate more and take more from and gain financially or whatever from it. I don't believe a word any of these people have to say. I didn't see anything or hear anything from Trump, but it's always a lie. It always has been and always will be.
I couldn't agree more, and that's very well stated, Riley. God bless you for calling back. I appreciate it. Thank you. Well done. Well done. Yeah, I've looked at this situation with verbiage coming out of the White House and what Trump supposedly said and didn't say. And I want to just say this to all you puritanical beings out there. Oh, Trump said that. Why, he's a racist. What about Robert De Niro? Robert De Niro was taped the other day as he was giving a just blatantly disrespectful speech about Donald Trump and the presidency, and literally every other word from this liberal Democrat, Robert De Niro, was the F word. You couldn't possibly, with any common decency, let anybody listen to that. It was pathetic. But that's okay, coming from the left. They can say and do these things, and that's all right. But there's an absolute nuclear holocaust pending on the horizon for Donald Trump, maybe speaking the truth. And speaking of nuclear holocaust, if you believe that one person overrode the system in Hawaii to bump the wrong switch, to use the words of some of the phrases that were in the paper, various papers over the weekend, bump and or push the wrong switch to raise awareness that maybe they were underneath a ballistic missile attack in Hawaii, and then they all go, oops. If you believe that, we've all got problems. This seems to me that they better do a lot of deciding and they better do a lot of investigating as to why the system failed in Hawaii. But the left came out within hours. My wife predicted it. She sat there and watched the news and said, oh my goodness, do you realize the left and the Democrats probably will blame President Trump? Well, they did. They did. Our major sponsor we come out with, and we thank our dear friends at our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. Oh, my goodness, all the traction tires for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs, all of this and more. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And I keep mentioning tire chains, and, of course, they've got all of the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. Oh, my goodness sakes. Yeah, I'm telling you, we've been lulled into a false sense of security with this weather, but it's going to change. And when it does, be ready for some mud and ice and yuck and snow. It's all going to be there. Wintertime driving, drive safely with the best of tires. From your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best. Can I have that copy over here on this desk, if you would, please? And thank you, Deanne. And right now, I want to remind you, here's what's coming up later on this morning. A quick reminder, 10:06. Exclusive interview with Ryan Bundy of the Bundy family from Nevada. Don't miss that. And tomorrow at 9:30, our first of the Idaho legislative updates, and sponsored by Handy Truck Lines. So that's coming up today and tomorrow. Don't miss it. Right now, let's go to the news, and we'll be back in 7 minutes. Oh, my goodness sakes, here we go. Hour number 2 on a beautiful morning outside. My goodness, I've got spring fever. Welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Hello, Nick and the crew at 1263 Bennett Avenue in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you, too, some of our great, great friends on this program. We really appreciate our friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Absolutely serving you and your family, and always remember this, with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. When there's the passing of a loved one, please know they are there. They're there to serve you. Call them at 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Don't forget, Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. Right now, Wheels, if you would please, the jingle for our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, my goodness sakes, don't forget to get on the route service. Oh, we've been on that route service with Western Waste for a long time, and you can almost set your watch by these people. Absolutely efficient. Coming by, picking up your garbage, and it's gone. It's out of there. What great folks. Western Waste Services, it's true. Always at your disposal. Call them, get on the route service today. 734-6969. On Mondays, I am blessed to have with me my dear, dear friend. And he says, and I say in my blog every week, the way we feel and the way it is. We're not going to embellish it. We're not going to make it less or more than what the facts are. But him and I are a lot alike. Frosty Woldridge, good morning, sir. How are you?
And good morning, Zeb, and good morning to everyone listening. And it's always a pleasure. I look forward to our morning
morning chats on Monday. It's always a pleasure, sir.
Well, okay, I'm going to get right to the crux of things because you wrote a great piece. I've got it right here in front of me. You know, I'm going to say this, and I know I'm going to take a lot of criticism, Frosty, but I don't care if President Trump referred to a country that sends us a lot of the dregs in this nation that we pay for. But you know what? There's not only Trump, maybe with language that's not accepted by many, but I did a little research on my own like you did, and I found going way back, Jimmy Carter, LBJ was probably one of the worst, John F. Kennedy, all of them are going to use flowery language in their White House Oval Office that they think the people that are sitting there with them, they can be trusted. I'll let you pick it up from there.
Well, that's true. Literally, some of the greatest presidents of all time and some of the lowest presidents of all time, such as Barack Obama, used foul language, and they used it very articulately. And I want to make this one thing clear. The person who made the really if you will, bastardized Trump's speech in that meeting was Senator Dick Durbin from one of the most failed states in the country besides California, and that is the 500,000 illegal aliens now inhabiting Chicago, which has turned into what Trump talks about. And Dick Durbin made that S-hole comment that he said that Trump said. Well, David Perdue, the U.S. Senator from Georgia, was sitting very close to Donald Trump in that meeting, I think across from him, and said he never said that. So in the end, what Dick Durbin did, and I want to really make everyone appreciate this, or at least introduce this to you, that Dick Durbin, the U.S. Senator from Chicago, along with Luis Gutierrez, who is a House rep, and he's a Mexican, both those men are anti-American. I've never seen two men more anti-American in my life, besides Barack Obama. But as senators and House reps, those two guys literally ought to be impeached for their lying and for their making up all sorts of stories. And when the truth comes out about the S-hole comment, more than likely, the facts will point to the fact that Dick Durbin made it all up, and he's the one that created that particular vernacular. At the same time, it's unbelievable what some of these presidents said. And this one that really should be the worst of all is Lyndon Baines Johnson when he got the Voter Rights Act. He said those, and I'm saying the N-word, those N-words will be voting for Democrats for the next 50 years. John F. Kennedy said the F-word. Harry Truman, he called General Douglas MacArthur a dumb SOB. And Nixon, of course, was a shifty GD liar. I mean, it's amazing to me the kind of foul language that comes from all of these presidents. And essentially what I try to share in my piece, and you can go to newswithviews.com this morning, it's the real story behind the S-hole comment. And Trump articulates what everyone mutters in bar rooms, pool halls, card games, living rooms, diners, restaurants, recreation centers, carpools, and the conferences. He articulates what average Americans grumble about daily. You know, there's another comment that Tucker Carlson made recently, and that comment should make everybody shook up. He says, does anyone actually believe you can swap out all Americans for foreigners and still have the same country?
That's right.
And I've said this for years. We're becoming everybody else's country, and that's why we're becoming so fractured. And in fact, I'm going to do a column on that. Does anybody think we're going to remain the United States of America within the next 30 years as we add another 100 million legal immigrants into our country? And, of course, the answer is no. We're displacing ourselves from our own country. We can't even speak We can't even talk. We can't even have free speech because it's being, Facebook is starting to clamp down on anybody as far as free speech, and Canada is doing the same. They're making any kind of comments about Muslims, hate speech, and they're coming after the people who are trying to expose Islam. So it's frustrating beyond conception that such men like Dick Durbin created a firestorm by making this S-hole comment, which, according to the U.S. Senator David Perdue, who I would appreciate his integrity way over Durbin's, that the firestorm was created by Dick Durbin and not the president.
We have a caller with a question for you, Frosty. Caller, I'm going to ask you to keep it short and concise. We're on time constraints. Go ahead, please.
Well, Joe Biden, on an open mic he didn't know, was saying that this health care bill back in 09, 10 was a big effing deal, and nobody gave a you-know-what about that. And what Feinstein did with this closed hearing information and saying that she did it because she had a cold, and she's a lying you-know-what, and they couldn't care less about any of that. But you see, again, our country is going to be headed someplace that we cannot tolerate, because we will not be the same if we're not careful. I'll hang up.
I agree with the caller, and I'm really glad he brought up that remark by Joe Biden. Here is a vice president making a remark like that on an open mic, and the Democrats get a pass. And I'll give you one other thing to mull over, too, Frosty. Last week on open mic video, actor Robert De Niro, a critic of Trump, he hates Trump, was giving a speech in New York, and every other word was the F word, and he gets a pass. This is ridiculous.
Well, it certainly is, because De Niro is an actor. All he really does is just follow the lines of the writers, the script writers, and that's all he's done in life. He's an entertainer. He hasn't done anything for this country. And I saw that interview, and that speech he gave, and it was the F-bomb literally every other sentence. So nothing happened with that. And so, like I said, Trump, no matter what he says, he's articulating the frustrations of the American people. And as I said, my feelings are, why haven't all of these elected leaders, like Dick Durbin, stopped the 17-year Afghanistan-Iraq wars? Why don't they stop the anchor baby phenomenon of 350,000 every year that are coming into this country? And I ask in this thing, does anybody think that Carnival Cruise Lines would go to the Somalia or Sudan or the Congo or Mexico outskirts, Haiti, Pakistan, and Ethiopia? And the answer is no, because these countries they're god-awful. And I've been through so many of these third-world countries. 60% of India doesn't have toilets. That's a fact. You can look that up on the internet. But I've been to those countries. I've seen it. These countries are literally hellholes is what they are. And so that's a fact. And the problem is we're importing all of their people into our people and think they're all going to turn up to be first world people. Well, that's not happening. Minneapolis, Minnesota, Miami, certainly New York, certainly Detroit, Michigan, certainly L.A., they're all turning into the same thing, tent cities. You can see all the videos on Facebook to see all of the literally hellholes being recreated here in America.
You know, Frosty, one of the things that has always griped me, and I want to try to get this in so we can discuss it, and then I've got another topic too, is that it's always easy to criticize Americans. It's always easy to talk and criticize you and I or anybody else on the radio or the media for our remarks about these other countries and these other people. But these other people that we're talking about, why don't they spend a minute amount of effort to try to make their situation in their own personal country better instead of coming here and denigrating at a cost to us?
That's the great question, because anybody can pick up trash. But if you go into the Congo, or you go into Zimbabwe, or you go into Zaire, or you go into Ethiopia, or you go into South Africa and Soweto, if you go into Haiti, I mean, Haiti is two different countries and two different on the same island. You got the Dominican Republic on one side of that island, and the place is beautiful. You go into the Haiti section, and it's a trash pit. It is a total trash pit, and so. Why not pick up the trash? I mean, anybody can pick up the trash along the streets of any city in America. I've picked up in my lifetime over 1 million pieces of trash on 6 continents. It's that simple to do. Instead, they just walk through it and throw more into it. So go figure on that, because these people are not trying to help themselves, and they are creating hellholes, and that's what they've created, and they're not changing them. But when they come to our country, they're recreating the same hellholes in our country. That's why this has got to stop.
All right, we have another caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, please.
Well, this is just a comment, not a question. The Democratic Party has turned out to be a Trojan horse where this country is concerned, and that's where the problems are.
You know, and I appreciate that comment. Frosty, respond to the caller, if you would, please.
Well, there's no question. The Democrats are socialists. In other words, they want to take all of the money that you work your tail feathers off and give it for all those people that don't do anything. And that's what we're doing. I mean, you got 48 million people in this country on food stamps. They obviously didn't take personal accountability or responsibility for their lives. And so you and I, the ones that are working our butts off, whether we're plowing the fields or we're ranchers or we're farmers or we're whatever we are, if we're the mail person, if we're the construction crew, if we're teachers, we're the ones paying for those people, because the Democrats are making sure that those people can sit on their butts and do nothing, not go to school, not participate, and we get to pay for it. That's what Democrats are. They're socialists. And it can't last for much longer, because we're $20 trillion in debt. We need to get people moving and get them into jobs and get these jobs moving to contribute to our country instead of leech off it.
Frosty, right now I want you to quickly, we've got about 7 minutes left, and I want 2 other topics discussed. First of all, I want you to talk about DACA versus the wall. It looks like the Democrats are going to turn into what they have been for a long time, knuckle draggers, and they're not going to let anything happen. I want your response on DACA and also the security wall.
I want everyone to understand that the DACA problem was created by the senators and House reps that are representing the United States of America. They have not, for the last 20 to 30 years, have passed E-Verify. Boehner stepped all over E-Verify. Dianne Feinstein has stepped over E-Verify. Hatch, every one of them. John McCain, all of them stopped E-Verify. Ryan, the current House rep, McConnell, all stepped on E-Verify to make sure it did not pass. That E-Verify would have stopped all these illegals, because it would have gone after all of these employers of illegal aliens. So it's really our own senators and House reps that are stopping the E-Verify from passing, and which has caused all of these illegals to cross the borders with all their babies and all their kids. But the fact is, if these people get this DACA passed, we are going to have a flood of millions of more of these babies. They already punched another 65,000 of them in. Somebody's orchestrating that last 65,000 kids that stormed our borders just 2 years ago with Barack Obama. And I guarantee you, these DACA babies are not all American kids. Half of them didn't finish, according to FAIR, FAIRUS.org. Look it up. Half of them didn't finish high school. All they are is derelicts. They're also joining MS-13 gangs. So DACA is going to be a monumental $26 billion debacle. It'll allow somewhere between 5 and 10 million more of their relatives to chain migrate into America. No, the Congress is not doing us any favors, folks, and we're paying for it.
Frosty, real quick, why would anybody, and give me an answer on this, looking ahead to the fall this year, November, why And how could anybody that loves this country, loves the flag, loves the Constitution, and all of our Bill of Rights, everything, how could you vote Democrat when they want to leave our borders porous and anyone and everyone can come here at the taxpayer's expense? How could you punch anybody on the Democratic ticket to take over a Senate seat or a congressional seat?
You know, so many people in this country vote through their emotions and not from their common sense. They vote from their affiliation with their emotions and not intelligent, critical thinking. Because if you are an intelligent, critical American thinker, somebody who's educated and understands and stays abreast of what's going on, you know that the Democratic Party is absolutely out against all of America, and it's for open borders, and it's for endless immigration from the third world, and it simply is out to destroy the American people. And that's what socialism is all about, and that's what Democrats are all about. And that's why we're having all of this. And to answer the question of how could somebody do that, essentially they're emotionally brain dead, and they simply do not use critical thinking to pull the lever. That's why Jerry Brown's in power. That's why Dianne Feinstein is in power. That's why such people like Chuck Schumer they're in power. It's because the people are not thinking when they vote.
All right, real quick, and I've only got 3 minutes left. I want to talk about Bradley Manning. Notice I did not say or will ever use his transgender name because I refuse to do that. He committed a traitor's act against this country as Bradley Manning, and that's how I'm going to refer to him. He was released from prison. He's a proven traitor to the United States, and now he's considering a run for the Maryland Senate seat that's available. How in the world could anyone on the Democratic Party support this traitor?
Well, again, people don't think. Their minds are very short-term, attention spans very short-term. The bet is most people won't even think about what he did, his treasonous acts, the fact that he went to prison, that he's a federal felon. And so again, you're seeing America being fractured by multiculturalism. You're seeing it fractured by diversity. You're seeing it now being fractured by sexual orientation, that we're being turned upside down. And so people are so confused. And again, the attention span of the American public is about as much as a tweet. And that's just what's happening to our country. And folks like you and me, old-timers, if you will, that understand common sense and understand hard work and have really contributed to our country, we're being supplanted by smartphones and tweets. And that's the kind of intellectual degradation and devolvement that's happened to our country. And that's why this kind of stuff is going on.
Okay, we're going to end on a little bit of a lighter note today. I want to just preface my remark by saying the Minnesota Vikings were the only team in the NFL this year. They never had one single athlete kneel in disrespect to our American flag or our national anthem. So I've been supportive of a team that absolutely, it hurts me to say that because of the arch rival of the Green Bay Packers. But wasn't that a football game yesterday with the Vikings and the Saints?
You know, let's face it. I mean, that was any which way but loose kind of a game in the finish. And, the Saints could have still won the whole, 9 yards. Again, it's just football and sports are that extraordinary combination of luck and coincidence for the the team that wins, the bounce of the ball one way or the other. I mean, it's just it's incredible. But the one thing that I honor is that a sports team that does not sit there and betray the American flag and everyone who served under it, including my father, Master Sergeant Howard Woolridge, United States Marine Corps. And so, to me, yes, literally, we need to get back to respecting the flag, respecting our country, respecting the national anthem, and respecting ourselves as U.S. citizens, because we are so fortunate to live in this country, the United States of America. So, go Vikings, and let's see what happens.
You know something? I could not have penned it any better than what you just said. Thank you. God bless it, dear friend. Frosty Woolridge, I'll see you next Monday.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, take care. I tell you what, he tells it like it is, and I respect that. Frosty Woolridge. Oh, my goodness, we've got to pay some bills. Don't forget, at 10:06 this morning, exclusive interview coming up with Ryan Bundy of the Bundy family from Nevada, right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Don't forget that. I want to remind everybody about Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Oh, my goodness. Yes, they have been voted Minnecache's best veterinary hospital on numerous times. And Dr. Bill and the whole crew, they care. They really care about your pets. They care about your livestock, and they can take care of them. Mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them and take care of them all. Don't forget the location, 750 21st Street in Heyburn, and the number to call, 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital, it's true. They have warm hearts for the cold noses. Absolutely. I want to say that I've had a really good conversation on numerous times with Jeff Bronson over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And right now they can save you a lot of money, and you can beautify your home. Now, let's talk a little bit about it. First of all, you can carpet your entire home, get rid of the old carpeting, and bring in the new, and they're going to give you 3 different price structures. You can carpet your living room, your hall, and 3 bedrooms. It includes carpet pad and installation up to 115 square yards or 1,035 square feet of carpet, and you can get the standard carpet put in for $69 a month, better carpet for $89 per month, and the premium carpet for $99 a month. Oh my goodness, 2 years. You better check it out. Same. I'll tell you what, no interest. They're just absolutely trying to help you, and they are at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Don't forget, get a hold of them today. They can help you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Interest-free for 2 years. Check it out today. We're just about ready to have our next guest on the program, and it's a holiday, but I appreciate this man taking the time to be with us, and we're going to introduce him in just a moment. Stand by. I also want to acknowledge our dear friends at Let's Ride. Oh, yeah. Let's Ride at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, serving you with the best of fun. I'm telling you, all the snowmobiles, all the four-wheelers and side-by-sides, and they've got certain motorcycles over there. Oh, my goodness. And all the accessories. They've got everything for you at Let's Ride. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. And I urge you to get over there. And don't forget, too, that if you already have a snowmobile, four-wheeler, whatever, they've got the best doggone service department around. Keeping you running right there at Let's Ride. Over on 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and this is true, this is where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. Let's go to the telephone right now, and I say a good morning to attorney Jeffrey McCoy. Sir, good morning, and thanks for being on the program.
Thanks so much for having me, Ted.
You know, Jeff, I hope you don't mind if I call you Jeff. I mean, we've never met, but I keep things pretty simple on this program.
Please do.
All right, but this story about the Bears Ears National Monument in Utah, I mean, when I read about this, first of all, I was mad. I was mad that this has happened all across the West with the closing of public lands to people that have physical challenges. I am one of them. And quite frankly, if it weren't for me getting a horseback or on a four-wheeler, I couldn't enjoy various parts of the so-called land that's being locked up by the federal government. Right there, I'm going to stop and let you tell us about the Bears Ears Monument and a person by the name of Brandon Sulzer.
Yes, yeah. So Brandon Sulzer is our client, and he has been diagnosed as a quadriplegic. I mean, like many people, he enjoys the outdoors, but he needs to use motorized vehicles. And so at the end of President Obama's term, he designated 1.35 million acres of land in Utah as the Bears Ears National Monument. And one of the effects of that was that it closes down motorized vehicle access and other roads people like Brandon or other people in his situation were not able to enjoy the land, the public lands in their backyard. Unfortunately, last month, President Trump downsized the Bears Ears National Monument from 1.35 million acres to 200,000 acres. A bunch of environmental groups and Patagonia, the outdoor retail clothing wear company, sued, saying that President Trump's decision was illegal. And we now are moving to defend President Trump's decision on behalf of Brandon and other clients who use this public land.
You know, Jeffrey, it just makes me I get so incensed with anger that I'm a business owner, I'm a taxpayer, and I do have a physical challenge. But they limit me, they take my money, but they limit me on the access to see and enjoy the public lands, and it's about high time someone like Brandon stepped up to the plate and hit a home run out of the park, damning and condemning government for basically closing off our land that we pay for.
Yeah, and one of the things that's ironic is, like I mentioned, Patagonia is one of the plaintiffs challenging President Trump's decision, and they keep arguing that they're trying to keep lands open for recreation. But what they're really doing is keeping lands open, well, not open, but they are fighting for a certain very limited type of recreation. And you're right, and people like you or like Brandon or other people use lands in different ways, and what we're trying to do is make sure that we keep access open for everybody.
Let me ask you this. As you did the study and you're a lawyer, you got all the facts laying on your desk, is this something that's not going to go away, and that groups, environmental groups and Patagonia and other companies, etc., they're just lying in the weeds like a rattlesnake, and they're going to come up and try to bite us again and make it even worse to close more of our public land in the future?
Well, I think one of the issues is that the act that President Obama used to create this monument, the Antiquities Act, it's an old statute that has been used, and it was passed in 1906, and it's been used a lot, but it's becoming more and more used to lock up more and more land. And there is some movement in Congress to revise the Antiquities Act because it was originally intended to just be small monuments to protect antiquities, small areas. But now, in the past few administrations, Clinton, Bush, Obama, have designated tens of millions of acres of monuments. So, to get back to your question, really, some reform is probably going to be needed, or else presidents can make unilateral decisions to lock up millions of acres of public land.
You know, Jeffrey, one of the most ridiculous, and I'm going to call it that, and one of the biggest lie that's said by the liberal left is, oh, well, we have to lock these lands up, or we have to preserve these lands for future generations. How dumb are we as an American public that we buy into this stupid statement, preserve it for future generations? If we can't see it now, we're sure not going to see it in the future.
Well, and one thing that gets lost in this argument is that there are many laws and regulations, both federal and state, that protect this land. Even without a monument designation, there are a host of laws and regulations that protect this land. And also, one of our other clients, some ranchers, Sandy and Gail Johnson, they're also using the land, and I'm sure many of your listeners are ranchers, and they know more than anyone else that ranchers have an incentive to preserve this land.
That's right.
Because it's their livelihood. And so multiple use of the land actually provides more protections than just keeping it locked up where no one can use it and no one can see it.
The big problem, though, and I don't have to tell you this because you're right in the middle of this mess, is that when you talk about these various groups, whether it's Defenders of Wildlife or whether it's the Sierra Club or whether it's companies like Patagonia, etc., they've got unlimited resources and kind of an open checkbook, and the rest of us don't. How do we fight these people when they've got the financial resources?
Well, that's one thing that we try and do at Pacific Legal Foundation. There's a couple other organizations around that do, and that's one of the ways that we can ensure that public lands remain open for everybody else. And then the other is just to make sure that I think working with state, local, and federal politicians to ensure that these lands remain open for use. And that's really because we live in a democracy or republic. That's one way that we can ensure that these lands remain open.
Let me say this. What about the Trump administration? What about Ryan Zinke? What about the Department of Interior now as compared to the Obama administration? And then looking ahead, what happens if all of a sudden in 2020 Trump is defeated on a re-election bid and we get a real negative liberal in there that says, nope, we're going to go back and close everything up? I mean, are we living on a shoestring here? What's going on?
Well, one thing, like I mentioned earlier, that's why I think there's some members in Congress that want to reform the Antiquities Act so that it doesn't become a battle between one administration and the next on whether lands can be designated as a monument or not. But I also think it's important that should Brandon and our other clients succeed in this case, it will set a clear precedent that monuments can be downsized. And I think that will make future administrations will look at that and they will be more cautious to designate monuments, because if they know that a subsequent administration can downsize it, then they're going to have to make sure that there is at least some broad support for a monument before they designate it.
What about Brandon Sulzer and the rest of us that absolutely can't be the typical, what they want to show as typical, 6'2", blue-eyed, blonde-haired hiker that can go 35 miles just on his own power? What about the rest of us? Should we be banding together and absolutely forming coalitions of power to fight these insidious groups?
But that may be one thing, and I can't speak for exactly what you should do, but I do know that that's one of the reasons why we've taken Brandon on as a client, is so that we can get his story out there, so that people know how these decisions affect the people like him. And he is just one person, but we hope that through our litigation that we can demonstrate how these monument designations and other federal land management decisions affect him and people like him.
What other areas in the United States right now are being, let's say, opened up a little bit through the Trump administration that have been closed off because of Obama? Can you name some of the others?
Well, so there was back in April, President Trump, he ordered a review of monument designations over the last 20 years. Another one that he has, that President Trump downsized at the same time, was the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, which was also in Utah. But they are looking at others, and hopefully Ryan Zinke did make a recommendation to, even if if President Trump doesn't downsize national monuments, to at least open it up to increased use on these monuments. But the review is still ongoing. As of right now, President Trump's only reduced the 2 in Utah.
Okay. What's it like? Give us kind of a play-by-play, Jeffrey. What's it like to go to court against these environmental groups or against these companies that you know when you walk in the door, they hate you and everything that you stand for? Give us kind of a personality sketch as to what it's like.
Well, I think most of the time that we're going to brief the legal issues and it's going to be decided by the judge. There's not a traditional trial as you see on TV or in a criminal context. So what's going to happen is if the judge allows our clients in, we will, along with the federal government, brief the legal issues, and the judge may have a hearing, and then we'll decide who has the better legal argument. Of course, we think that we do have the better legal argument because 7 previous presidents have downsized national monuments. So there's a clear precedent for this, and we think that the plaintiff, the Patagonia, and the other plaintiffs' arguments are ridiculous.
Okay. What would you tell the audience as far as the curbing or the usage of public lands? If they notice that all of a sudden where they like to go maybe snowmobiling, or where they like to go four-wheeling, or where they like to go horseback riding or whatever, all of a sudden the trails are closed, or they've taken a grader in there and they've destroyed the trail, what would you tell them? Who should they appeal to? What's the proper procedure here?
Well, one thing is to make sure, because before they make any changes, the Forest Service or the BLM or the other agencies will have to notify. And the first thing to do is to make sure to comment on that and let those officials know that about how it's impacting your life if they close it down. Secondly, I would say that you can contact your congressmen, congresswomen, and senators, because they have some influence over the agencies as well.
But at these public opinion meetings, I think a lot of people think it's just a bunch of hot air and they really don't listen to us at all. But I think that we need to always alert you on behalf of the Pacific Legal Foundation. You folks have done a lot to get involved and really help preserve what's right and what is wrong in this country, stop what's wrong. I think you've done a great job.
Well, thank you very much. And and that is one thing, is we do always look for instances where we can help protect people's property rights and individual liberties. And so if there is a situation, people can contact us. All our information's on our website at pacificlegal.org. And that is another way that we help and we try and help guarantee land access for all.
If there's any time, anywhere that I can be of help on any case like this, don't forget my name. You call me and I'll do what I can, okay?
All right, well, we definitely appreciate that.
Jeffrey McCoy with the Pacific Legal Foundation, and I certainly appreciate their efforts. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day, Jeff. Appreciate you.
Thanks. You have a good day, too.
All right. Thank you. Really, really good, folks. You know, that has been a sore spot with me for a long time. And I don't mind telling you that when somebody says, well, you can't go there, and you can't ride your horse there, or you can't use your four-wheeler there. No, that's only for hikers. I'm sorry, you can't see it. But yet I pay taxes. And they're telling me I can't go in because of my physical challenge and enjoy the country that I'm paying for. I am so proud of this Utah young man, Brandon Sulzer, starting the ball rolling with this lawsuit. And thanks to the Trump administration for minimizing the Bears Ears land to the point where he can get in and others can start enjoying it. This balderdash. Notice how I cleaned it up. This balderdash of saying, well, we got to preserve it for future generations. Don't give me that. That's one of the biggest lies ever perpetrated to the American public. Once they lock it up, no one is going to get in. We're going to have a weather forecast right now brought to you by our friends at Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cache area for well over 50 years. You know, you really want to take care of your business, and you want to make sure that everything is A, B, C, D, right in that order. You want to make sure everything's taken care of properly, like your tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statements, retirement planning, and so much more. Well, they can help. And they will help. They've got 2 offices to serve you, one in Burley, one in Rupert. Don't forget the professionals serving you, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Right now, they bring us the weather.
Here is your weather forecast for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and honestly, it's going to be on the nice side. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the east-northeast, right around 10 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 22. We are expecting a high of 42 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low near 28. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 43. Now for Tuesday night, clouds are going to be rolling into the valley, bringing along with it a chance of rain and or snow showers before midnight, then a slight chance of rain after midnight, mostly cloudy skies with a low near 30. For Wednesday, 20% chance of rain after the noon hour, partly sunny skies with a high of 46. Thursday, 40% chance of rain, possibly some snow, mostly cloudy skies with a high of 46. That is your weather for Zebit the Rain.
Oh, my goodness sakes, I'll tell you what, those folks at Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company can help you and your family and your business. Don't forget, for the best of tax planning, they can help you. The company wants to thank everybody for last year, and now here we are, full bore ahead, 2018. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. I've got time for a couple of calls. Give me a jingle on the landline at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I mentioned earlier when Frosty and I were talking about language in the Oval Office, and I'm not advocating bad language. Don't somebody get off on a tangent here. Come on. But from Jimmy Carter, that supposedly was Mr. Perfect, he wasn't. He had his days in the Oval Office, especially when he said that he was going to try to whip Edward Kennedy's, you can fill in the blanks, and George Bush talking about Hezbollah, and it got a little dicey. Going back to Bill Clinton, there's one of the diciest commentators and of presidents, but the worst probably was LBJ. He didn't care what he said at any time to anybody. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, you were just talking with the fellow from the Pacific Legal Foundation, brought up a situation that happened here to a friend of mine. He went to the hills to hunt, parked his vehicle at a fence, drove up to a fence, parked his pickup, and then walked on up the hill. When he got back, he had a ticket for parking there, a $230 ticket, and it said if he wanted to fight this ticket to not do anything, not pay it, not do anything, and he'd get a summons. So he got the summons, happened to be federal, so he had to go to Boise, and he thought he was going in then to plead guilty or not guilty, but he was actually going into the hearing. And they didn't even listen to him. They said it's been since, I think, 98 that this has been closed off. And he's been parking there for years, and nothing's ever happened. He did go after he got the ticket and got a map, and it does show that that would be a no parking area. But they said if you wanted to camp there, you could camp there. But if you put a camp there for the purpose of going hunting, and it was a fake camp, then you would get your ticket also. So it just is smacks of overreach by our government. And, by the way, this fellow is half Native American.
Let me ask you this. I mean, it was on a roadway in the Forest Service or BLM that he parked his truck? He parked it off the roadway, or what was the deal there?
He parked it off the roadway, but the road, it was fenced off at the point that he stopped. He drove up to the fence, stopped, parked off the road, and went on about his hunting.
Well, now let me ask you this. Did he break any law, or did he do something illegal by crossing the fence, crawling underneath the fence or whatever, and going on the other side? Was there something there that was illegal that he shouldn't have done?
Not as I understand. No, it was simply the parking that was illegal.
Well, I guess my main contention would be I'm scratching my head. If it's on a roadway and you're just going up like for a day's hunting, you're not going to stay there for 3-4 days. I don't see the illegality or the gross misjustice.
there shouldn't be, but perhaps because they have decided, well, we're going to put a little area here that there's no parking, just so we can ticket people. And why a $230 parking ticket?
Yeah, well, I guess
when he went to court, there was quite a few in line for other infractions. One of them being a fellow that was letting a minor ride a four-wheeler without a helmet. He was fined $100.
Wow.
And to my way of thinking, that is more of an infraction than parking, simply parking on Forest Service land.
I have always, as much as I go up in the hills to hunt and enjoy the hills, I have seen numerous vehicles that are parked 10, 20 feet off of the roadway or trail system, not doing any harm. And now I'm going to start questioning this, and I'm going to start looking into it, because are we all in all areas susceptible to a $230 fine, or was this just subjective to that one particular area?
Well, I'm not sure about what areas are designated no parking and what aren't, but one does want to be careful because these laws are made up, and we don't know when they go into force, and so we can be caught and never know that we're breaking a law.
Let me ask you, if you hear any more on this or have any update information, would you please call me back? And if it's not on the air, call me on my cell phone at 312-2976. Would you do that?
I can do that, Zeb.
God bless you, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Caller number two, I'll be right with you. Stand by. I want to remind everybody, when it comes to life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, work with the professionals. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call, 436-4424. They are dedicated professionals serving you, your family, and your business. Please get a hold of them today. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert. Caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Hi, Mr. Zeb Bell. Thank you for taking my call. This is Shelley Holy calling, and I'd like to make a comment about these liberals and Democrats trying to preserve the land. And, well, I'm going to say this. Their priorities are really screwed up. They try to preserve and protect the public lands, but yet they fail to preserve and protect the life of the unborn. They're worshiping the trees instead of respecting the sanctity of life. Their priorities are screwed up, and it makes me sick to my stomach.
You know, Shelley, I appreciate your comments, and as you can look at your watch, I'm out of time and have to run to the news right now, but thank you for calling, and basically that is the truth, what you said. I appreciate it. Right now, I want to thank you very much. I want to remind everybody, next hour, we're going to have Ryan Bundy on the phone, an exclusive interview that's going to take most all of the next hour, from 10:06 until 11, so be sure and tune in for that. On this Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Zeb at the Ranch, we're going to send it back over to our main studios, and don't forget, 10:06, we're going to have Ryan Bundy on the phone from Nevada, and we're going to talk about this fiasco that has hurt his family, devastated other families for the last 4 years. Right now, Wheels, if you would, take it away. We'll go up to news. I'll be back in just a few moments. Thank you very much, and welcome back to our third hour for this morning on this Monday. Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you, of course, by our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of traction tires for this wintertime driving. And also, we want to say a big thank you to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Real quick, before we introduce our guest, I want to say thank you to 2 businesses that sponsor on Thursdays a segment called Cassia County School Days, and they are A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, with all the dresses and the coats, and of course all the toys and games and puzzles, baby furniture, and so much more. A family store serving you, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, along with Ambulatory Surgery Center for your outpatient surgeries. Call them today and find out how you can have them them save you money. Call them at 677-8888. 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley, along with the Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County on Thursdays at 10:10. Ladies and gentlemen, this next gentleman that I have lined up for my program this morning, I have been very excited about having him on the air so that he can express exactly what happened from 2014 all the way to today. And I'm very appreciative to have Mr. Ryan Bundy on the telephone with us. Good morning, Ryan. How are you? Are you there, Ryan?
Hello.
Hello, Ryan. Can you hear me all right?
Say again. I have been having a hard time hearing you.
Can you hear me now? I'm going to have the engineer ride the gain on this entire interview so that you can hear. You're calling on a cell phone. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you a little better now, yes.
Okay. Wheels, you're going to have to ride it up and down and be quick about it. Ryan, from 2014 with an armed standoff in Nevada with the federal government, I want you please to tell our audience how did this problem start between your family and others and the federal government? How and why did this problem happen to be?
Well, the whole crux of the issue is that the federal government is not adhering to the Constitution, and they are assuming authorities that have not been granted to them by we the people, and particularly in the land ownership issue. That is the crux of the problem right there.
Okay.
And, of course, stemming from that, we get down into the details, and then we get into all the other things, the supposed grazing fees and tortoise habitat and environmental this and endangered species that. But how particular do you want me to get with this story?
Well, I'll tell you what, Ryan.
And it will take a while.
I understand. We've only got a short period of time, so I want to ask you this. I have known your family for a long, long time, and you, like other ranching families, are trying to make a living off of the soil, if you will, and all of a sudden you're found to be doing something illegal, and the federal government comes in, and it got to be quite a very scary confrontation. Take us from how this happened initially.
You want to go through just their attack on us, or you want me to get again into the details of what led up to that?
Well, basically, you can talk a little bit about the grazing fees. You can talk about how the feds threatened you and everything. But how did it get to be an armed confrontation that day, and then your life destroyed after that?
Sure. Well, I am going to back up into the history just a little bit, because for people to understand what's going on, they got to understand who we are as a country.
Good.
And they got to realize, and I do believe people do believe that the Constitution for the United States is the supreme law of the land. The Constitution is what creates the federal government. It is what grants the federal government its authority, and all of that derives from the people. If you look at the preamble to the Constitution, it clearly states that we, the people, do establish this Constitution and do establish this form of government. And why do we do that? We do that for our protection from invading countries or whatnot. But the authority, let me just put it this way. Government has no authority in and of itself. Government is only an instrument, a creation of the people to do certain things. Now, we, the people in the United States of America, felt the need to have a larger government than just the states, and that's why we created this union, the United States, for
for the common causes and purposes of mostly military purposes. But we give the federal government certain tasks and duties. Now, we also know that the 10th Amendment clearly states that if we did not give Congress a certain power, then that power is reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people.
Right.
So our question is where in the Constitution did we, the people, give the central government the power and authority to own land within an admitted state of the Union? And there is just one place, and that is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the United States Constitution, which states, first of all, that we cede to Congress an area not to exceed a 10-mile square, which shall be the seat of government. And we know that to be Washington, D.C. And we give Congress power to have exclusive legislation in that district. Now, we said that they can have like authority, in other words, exclusive jurisdiction, exclusive legislation, in all places purchased from a state after they received the state legislature's approval for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. Okay, so how does that correlate with the purposes that we outlined the United States government to do? Again, we give them certain tasks, certain duties. We formed it for certain specific purposes. Now, we knew that government would need some land to fulfill the obligations which we give it. And so we're going to allow Congress to purchase that land for those purposes.
Right.
But nothing else. Congress, or in other words, the federal government, has no authority to own land within an admitted state of the Union except for those express purposes. And back to referring to the 10th Amendment, if we didn't give them a certain power, they certainly do not have it. So this comes back to the question is, wherein is the central government claiming ownership of large tracts of land which they have created agencies to rule over, such as the Bureau of Land Management, United States Forest Service, monuments, parks, recreation areas, wilderness areas, wildlife reserves? None of that is constitutional. None of that ownership is legal within the law of the supreme law of the land. So why do we put up with it? Why do we put up with it? Okay, we learned this quite a few years ago when, well, it was after the Endangered Species Act was enacted, which again is an unconstitutional act because wherein did we give the federal government any control over animals? They have no authority nor control to create such a thing as the Endangered Species Act. It doesn't exist. They're creating powers or giving themselves powers that we, the people, did not give them.
All right, now, Ryan...
Without a constitutional amendment, they don't have it.
Right. Ryan, I'm going to interrupt you there. Ryan, I need to... Wheels, turn me up a little bit. Ryan, I need to interrupt you a bit because of time constraints. And I need to ask you specifically about how the feds and your grazing rights and your utilization of the land in Nevada, why did this come to a culmination to where the feds came out with armed force? Bring us to that point of the story.
Okay, so they obviously do not want to abide by the constitutional restrictions. So they have created, these agencies, and we have basically said we don't recognize these agencies because they're not constitutional. And so for years, 30 years, 25 years or whatever, they've been trying to get us off the land. And just because we know our rights, we just tell them no. you have no authority, therefore, go pound sand type deal. And we just keep ranching based upon our rights. But they have tried to gather our cattle numerous occasions, and we've always been able to stop them with paperwork. But they just got to the point where they're going to come and just pound us out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their intent was. We have their operational plan, and so we can see what they were trying to do. They were trying to push us into a confrontation to where they could be justified in the eyes of the people to stomp us out, to kill us. And
let me ask you.
That's what their goal was in 2014.
Let me ask you this then, Ryan. If I can interrupt you, please, because we do have a little delay with the cell phone via the studio line. But at that point, on that day in 2014, where there was the confrontation, please tell me and the audience about the family members, the children, all the people there. This could have been a disaster. How was it averted?
Well, it was never really planned an armed confrontation. Okay, not on our part anyway. We were just simply there when they were gathering our cattle. They gathered our cattle for a week, and we did nothing. We didn't like what was going on, but we were just watching. And a lot of people started to come and support. And, the militias came, but regular people came, just people came. They did not want to see another Waco or Ruby Ridge type of situation. And they also could recognize, that the government was acting wrongfully. And so people came by the hundreds. Now, we were petitioning our sheriff to come and stand up for our rights and to do his duty as a sheriff to protect our life and liberty and property, but he refused to do so. We called upon, other local law enforcement to come and help, and they just would not. And so the people came. And on April 12th, when it all accumulated, the people went up to take the cattle back, to get the cattle back. But mostly we were there just to petition the sheriff.
Right.
To do his duty.
Right.
There was no plan. There was no plan for an armed confrontation. And in fact, most of those who were supposedly militia weren't even up there. They didn't go. So it was really just the people that showed up.
Mm-hmm.
But when we got there, we faced the BLM, and they had, I don't know how many, we know that they had over 200 people there. I don't think all of them were military. I think 150 or so were military-type agents. And they were all gunned to the hilt. I don't know if you've seen the videos and pictures of them, but
yes,
they were full in military tactical gear and, helmets and body armor and all kinds of different weaponry on them, and they were there to stop the people.
Well, let me ask you right there, Ryan. Ryan, let me ask you right there. Did you, your family, your dad, your brothers, anybody at that juncture fear for your lives at that point? Did you really think it was going to escalate, like I said a few moments ago, into a total disaster?
Well, once we got there, we could see things were escalating, but it wasn't us that was escalating. It was them, and so they were, BLM, they were actually on their bullhorn, stating that they would kill us. They said that we will shoot, we will fire upon you, and they had every intention to do so. And so the county sheriff had been there that morning, but then he had turned and left to his under sheriff in charge, and a couple other, deputies. And so we called upon them, Joseph Lombardo and Tom Robert. They were kind of in command there of the sheriff's deputy, and we called upon them to put a stop to this.
Okay, now I'm going to interrupt you right there again, Ryan. Ryan, just a minute. I want to ask you.
It sound like some big armed confrontation, which it wasn't. The few people, the very few that were armed, and only 2 of them that I know of ever raised a rifle to point, and they did so simply to prevent, not to attack, but to defend and protect the people that were under the bridge. Speaking of the protesters that were there to protest and petition the sheriff. And so this whole notion that there was some great big armed conflict is a fallacy.
Okay, but now, wait a minute, Ryan. Wheels, turn me up so that I can interrupt right away. Ryan, just a minute. I want to go back. In the time remaining, we've got to be more succinct about this because I don't want to waste anything that you have to say this morning. I absolutely want you to elaborate on the point of the county sheriff. The county sheriff has the jurisdiction. Why didn't this man use it? Why didn't he stop this problem that could have been exacerbated? What happened to this county sheriff that he put his tail between his legs and ran away?
Well, I'll tell you what happened, and this is what's happening to every city, county, state. They're all neutralized by federal funds, okay? You say, we hear that the golden rule is he with the gold makes the rule. I know that's a distortion of the true golden rule, but yet that still happens. And so our counties, our states, our cities should not be receiving federal money. And because they are, then they become subservient to the gold.
Right.
And so, I don't know, Clark County is receiving, several millions or even tens of millions. I don't know how much money they're getting, but they're receiving certain amounts of money from the feds every year, as is most every other government entity. And therefore, they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them, regardless of what's right and what's wrong. And I also believe that the majority of people, including those who are elected, have forgotten and do not understand what is constitutionally right and what is constitutionally wrong.
Right.
They all take an oath to uphold the Constitution, and yet very few of them read it, understand it, or know it. And so they just do what they're told. They do what they're told. And what they're being told is not necessarily what is right. And that's the problem with most people, I believe, in the world and in history and definitely in America right now, is instead of learning for ourselves, we just do what we're told.
Absolutely.
We've got to have a driver's license. Well, I have the right to travel. That's a right. God gave us this earth to live in and to use. Who is it that takes right from me to tell me when and where I can and cannot go?
Right.
That's just one thing. They tell me I have to have a permit to build a house upon my land. Well, is it my land or is it not? And what rights and what's the definition of freedom here? Is being subservient to be told whatever we are to do, is that freedom?
Okay, now, Ryan.
To get permission to do just about anything, or a license is nothing more than permission. Is that all we are in America? Is a bunch of slaves that are waiting to be told what to do and when and how and where and what not? And to get permission to do everything, that's not freedom.
All right, now, Ryan, I'm going to interrupt you again because of the time constraints, and I want to ask you this. And then in a few minutes, 4 minutes exactly, I've got to take a little break at the bottom of the hour. I'm going to ask you to stay on the line, and then we'll pick it up after the break. But I want you to talk about how devastating and literally how cruel some of the feds were that day and ground one person's face right into the pavement, and then also talk a little bit about Special Agent Dan Love, of and a supposed kill list. And I've got 3 minutes left before the break, and then I'll have to interrupt you again. Go ahead.
Okay, well, we'll start with my brother Dave Bundy, who on April 6th stopped, and we were going to just view some of the cattle in the trucks of the cattle rustlers come down from the mountain. All he was doing was taking pictures, exercising, you know, obviously his right to the First Amendment, and the BLM, they took him, tackled him down, literally put his face into the gravel on the side of the road, and put their knee on his head and ground his face down into the gravel. When he got up, he had pieces of gravel stuck in his cheeks and stuff. And then on the 9th, they took my Aunt Margaret, who is, you know, 57-year-old lady. I mean, not terribly old, but hey, she's not a young chick anymore, and she just recently survived cancer and getting over those travails. But they took her and just threw her like a rag doll to the ground, back into the gravel. And also tased my brother 3 times. And what we were trying to accomplish that day was they were coming down out of the hills with a backhoe and dump truck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you use a backhoe and dump truck for when you're gathering cows?
Right.
Normally, do you normally use a backhoe and dump truck to gather cows? No. And so something fishy was going on, obviously. And so we wanted to know, you know, what that was. And we wanted to see what they had in their dump truck. Now, we had assumed that they were killing our cattle and were, you know, had a load of it. And that's why we stopped the dump truck. We wanted to see what was there. But what we found was not dead cattle, but they had taken our water tanks and water troughs and destroyed them and loaded them in that.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And then we found out later that it was their intent to destroy all our waters and corrals, to completely wipe our ranch out, is what they were trying to do.
Ryan, I'm going to interrupt you right here. I have to because of time constraints. And I'm going to ask you, please, to stay on the line. Do not hang up. And we have a short break right now that we have to take care of. It's on the computer. And then I'll be right back with more Ryan Bundy. And then we're going to talk about the bulk of the case and also talk about the Hammonds in Oregon with Ryan Bundy. Back to our station. I'll be back in a few minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. And back, I hope, on the line again with a great gentleman. I've known the family for a long, long time, and we're on the phone with Ryan Bundy from Nevada. Ryan, are you still there, and can you still hear me?
I am here. I can hear you well.
All right. Ryan, you know, looking at my watch and my clock on the wall, we've got to really get into quite a few different subjects here this morning before the about 5 or 10 till the hour. But I want to talk to you about the arrests and the absolute torment that your family and others have gone through since this altercation with the feds. I mean, this must have been a horrendous experience for your entire family.
It has been rough, I will admit. But, you know, I don't know. We deal with what we have to deal with. We know that we're in the right, so we persevere regardless of the pain. But it has been hard.
I can't even imagine. Let me ask you this. Has there been anything good, and I underline the word good, come out of this situation with the Bureau of Land Management, your family, and the standoff? Has there been anything good come out?
Yes, and there always is, no matter how bad things are. It always can come from it. And, you know, I say that the government made a terrible, terrible mistake, because all they've done is made us stronger. And, you know, through all this trouble, we have grown a lot, both spiritually and intellectually, learning about the law. But when you spend over 700 days in jail, much of that time in complete solitary confinement, well, all I can say is that there's a lot of time alone. The world becomes your only friend at times.
Let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask you, Ryan, if you...
to grow and to obtain good from that.
Yeah.
No matter how hard it is.
Let me ask you, please, can you hold that cell phone up closer to your mouth a little bit? We're having a real bad time with the connection. Cell phones are like that. I apologize. But okay. let me ask you this.
Guys, I'll hold it better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Thank you. Ryan, let me ask you this. With the jail time and the destruction of your family business and everything else, how are you able now to try to put your lives back together?
Well, we're just now trying to figure that out. So our cattle numbers are a little down. A few of the things we did have, you know, my brother-in-law Clancy, who was here, you know, keeping the ranch going. But yeah, we're behind, no doubt about that. So we're trying to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and put things back together just now.
Okay, now that being said, Ryan, let me ask you this. Is this a problem that you think could happen again to you and your family, or what's been done to solve any future problems of the same nature?
Well, and that's an issue, because in one way we're just back to where we began in 2014. You know, they still have those court orders, which they claim are legitimate and we claim are illegitimate. We still have, you know, environmentalists who are pressing to have our cattle gathered, and, you know, so what is the BLM going to do? And what is the sheriff going to do? What's the state going to do? What's the brand inspector going to do? You know, at what point are they going to, you know, start to protect our rights? And those are all issues that are right now. Those are all questions that are right now. And, you know, so what's going to happen? You know, we don't want to have to go through that again.
Absolutely.
If they did try to gather, I do believe that the people would once again gather. And I believe that it would be a complete repeat. But we don't want that. We just want to live in peace.
Ryan,
we want to, you know, exercise our rights and provide for our families. But as of right now, nothing's changed.
Let me ask you...
And, you know, delayed 4 years down the road now.
Yeah. Ryan, let me ask you this.
Our leaders, whom we elect to protect us, begin to protect us, well, we're going to still deal with these problems.
Yeah.
And other people, other ranchers, they need to cancel their contracts with the federal government. They need to quit playing these dirty games. And until they do, you know, this problem's not going to be solved.
Ryan, let's go and move ahead to Burns, Oregon. And Burns, Oregon, with the Malheur County Wildlife Refuge, and the situation with the Hammonds. I need to ask you, both of these issues are tied and joined together at the hip. Days before this problem really exacerbated itself up in Burns, Oregon, I had Mr. Lavoy Finicum on my program. Would you tell us the sameness of the problems up there at Malheur versus what happened to you down in Nevada? Explain that to us, please.
Well, different agency, nearly the same problem. The Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, again, is another unconstitutional, illegitimate, you know, organization that is taking land that doesn't belong to them. Now, they have even been more aggressive than the Bureau of Land Management has, in that they have taken over 100 ranches. They have seriously eliminated 100 different ranchers, and to to build that wildlife refuge. And they have done this over the years, through force and manipulation. At one point, they were able to control the water levels on that lake. They raised the water levels up, ground out a bunch of the ranches to where they literally broke them. And so then they were forced to sell. And then, of course, once they're gone, then they drain the lake back down, and now they have all this extra land. They've used various methods of forcing these ranchers out. Now, the Hammonds, like us, have stood their ground and have not collapsed. And this has been an angst to those who run the wildlife refuge, because a lot of the Hammonds' property is right in the middle of this refuge that they want to take.
Right.
And so they were just using other methods to try to push them out. And when all their scare tactics and manipulations failed, well, then they go after them, try to make criminals out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most particularly, they're claiming that the Hammonds burnt land that belonged to the federal government, which simply isn't true. Again, you go back to the land ownership issue. But even if it were, they charge the Hammonds with the Anti-Terrorist and Effective Death Penalty Act. Okay? Now, this act talks about those who start fires, or arsonists, and it was created after the bombing of the Oklahoma City courthouse, or federal building.
Right.
And the design of this law was to prevent such a thing from happening again. The problem is this land out here where the ranchers ranch has nothing to do with that. And yet now they're trying to make them into terrorists, arsonists, for simply doing the same thing that has always been done from ancient inhabitants up through the ages, where ever so many years, you burn the land to knock down the decadent brush, which then allows for new and succulent growth to come up. It's a range improvement. It's not a harm to the land. It's a range improvement. And the Hammonds, first of all, had burnt some of their own private property.
Right.
And some of that burn went out and got, about 100 acres of land that they had grazing rights upon. That the wildlife refuge claims that they own, again, illegitimately. And then the second fire was one that was lit by lightning, supposedly, and it was burning, and it was threatening their home.
Right.
And so they lit a backfire to counter that fire, one that they could control, and it worked beautifully. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. But between these two fires, now they're calling the Hammonds terrorists.
Okay, now at that juncture, Ryan, at that juncture, I've got to interrupt you again. We're down to about 7 minutes left in this interview for this morning, and I want you to jump ahead and kind of give me speculation on your part, because you were there. And tell me why in the world the problem had to escalate down the road from the Malheur Wildlife Refuge and going to a meeting, why it had to escalate to where the feds actually shot and killed Lavoy Finicum, a spokesman for this movement. Take us to that point, if you could, this morning, please.
Well, the answer to that is easy. It didn't have to do that. That's the atrocity of all this. It didn't have to do that. They chose to do that. I'll tell you what, we were, not myself, but my brother, was on the phone with FBI several times. And number one, we invited them to come out. We invited them to come speak with us. We talked about the atrocities that were going on, and we actually invited them to come and investigate, as they are supposed to do, Bureau of Investigation, okay, to look into the real problem. And they had actually told us that they would, just about an hour before they attacked us. They were actually saying, okay, we'll look into this, we'll start. And so that was all just a deceptive. It did not have to escalate to the point where it did. That what happened. Lavoie did not have to die, nor did we have to be ambushed and SWAT teams. Okay, we were peacefully on our way to John Day to speak with the county sheriff. What kind of criminal goes and creates a meeting where he can go talk to the sheriff and the community people? That's not what criminals do.
That's right.
And we had also stopped by ourselves at the FBI compound, went to their gate, said, okay, hey, let's talk. Such an attack did not have to happen. They had ample opportunities to meet and speak with us and chose not to. They had ample opportunity to address the real issue, which was the problem of these unconstitutional control of land and the destruction of ranchers and their rights. And most particularly, and I want to point this out, Harney County, which is where the wildlife refuge is, used to be the most wealthy county in Oregon. And they had lots of logging, mining, ranching. It was a very prosperous place. And from what I understand now is that Harney County is the poorest county in the state.
Mm-hmm.
But what changed? Well, what changed was the federal government's influence,
right.
The federal government's control. They shut down all the logging, they shut down all the mining, they're killing off all the ranchers, and the economy's struggling.
All right, now, Ryan, right there, I want you to stop for a minute and let me interject something here because, again, it's speculative on my point, and I want to ask you your opinion on something. You're talking about Harney County. You're talking about Malheur County, and we're also hearing in the news that part of the Hammond Ranch may have been part of the uranium deposits that might have been allegedly through the Clinton administration in a sale to Russia. Do you have feelings that a lot of the uranium and or the land problems were caused because of the federal government and the possible Uranium One deal?
You know, all of that is speculation to me. I mean, there's obviously some underlying motivation for this aggressive behavior. And the one thing I do know is that whoever controls the land and the resources, you know, has all the power and all the wealth. Wealth is not dollar bills. Wealth is the land and the resources. Wealth is the ability to have and, you know, for your life and produce and have the things you need. And they want control. Why they want so much control, I don't know. But I don't know. All I can say is that's part of Satan's plan. But whether or not this had to do with a uranium deal or gold or other minerals, you know, I really don't know the underlying. All I know is that they want the power, and they get that through controlling the land and the resources.
Well, Ryan,
again, I don't know how much time we have, but if we're down to the end, you know, I just want people to realize that all of this goes back to, you know, our foundation.
Right.
Not the foundation of this country, but the foundation of our existence.
Let me just
gave man the world.
Let me ask you this, Ryan, and we'll kind of sum it up right here because then I do have to break. And first, before I do that, I want to thank you for your very candid remarks this morning and straight from the cuff. I appreciate it as one cowboy to another. But I want to ask you this. With all the politics involved, down in Nevada, where you ran your cattle with Harry Reid and other land uses and the big money politics, and then possibly up at Malheur with the big money politics on the Hammond Ranch. Doesn't this kind of stink, if you will, of politics superseding the value of our human resources?
Yes, it does, and that goes right into what I was saying just a moment ago. It definitely stinks of politics. Anyway, I don't know what else to say on that.
Okay, I've got a quick caller, and I'm only going to let them have 30 seconds and a short answer because I'm almost out of time. Caller, quickly, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, Ryan. I fancy myself as a man that would be willing to ride point. And when you guys did what you did, whether or not it was your father or you guys in Malheur County, this issue needed to be spotlighted. But I said to myself, you guys have more guts than even though I think I'm gutsy, compared to you guys, I'm a wimp. And I just wanted you to know that what you did was so great. And I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller quickly, Ryan, if you would.
Well, hey, they say this is the land of the free because of the home of the brave. Well, if we expect to be free, then we better be brave. And so that's all we've tried to do. And we got to be right. This form of government was only meant for a moral and religious people, and is wholly inadequate for any other. That was a statement by one of our founding fathers, and I will reiterate that. When you're standing on true and correct principles, and you have the courage to do so, the Lord will be with you, and you will be able to succeed.
Absolutely.
We've learned both, be right with God, but also learn the principles of our government, the Constitution. Because if you expect to be free and ignorant, you expect what never has been and what never will be.
Absolutely.
So, that's a good place to end.
All right, Ryan, one final thought, and I've only got a minute and a half left, so give me a short answer on this. I understand that you did a lot of your own representation for yourself and this case, and you did an admirable job. Did you ever know that you could become an attorney for your own self-defense?
Well, here's the thing. An attorney is somebody who assumes your identity and acts in your behalf. And I just don't allow that. I am who I am, and I will be my own man.
God bless you.
A lawyer, on the other hand, is an expert in the law. And I still, use people. I don't know all that much myself, so I still take advice from others, but I'm not going to let anyone speak for me.
There you go. Ryan, on behalf of my program and myself, and I've known your family for a long, long time, and you and I talked earlier on the phone that we do know each other from years gone by from the rodeo bull business. God bless you and your family, and please consent to come back in the future and explain more of this story, if you would, please.
Okay, I'd be glad to. But thank you. I do appreciate it.
All right, Ryan Bundy, thank you so very much for being on our program this morning. Exclusive interview with him as to the horrendous happenings with him, his family, and others in Nevada, and then also what happened with the Hammond Ranch up in Oregon. And we're going to have him back and explain more of this. Right now, I've got to get a weather forecast on here real fast, brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, with Don Scarrow and the crew. All the delicious meats, and call them and find out more. 324-7657, Scarro's Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here is your weather forecast for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and honestly, it's going to be on the nice side. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the east-northeast, right around 10 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 22. We are expecting a high of 42 for today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with the low near 28. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 43. Now for Tuesday night, clouds are going to be rolling into the valley, bringing along with it a chance of rain and or snow showers before midnight, then a slight chance of rain after midnight, mostly cloudy skies with a low near 30. For Wednesday, 20% chance of rain after the noon hour, partly sunny skies with a high of 46. Thursday, 40% chance of rain, possibly some snow, mostly cloudy skies with a high of 46. That is your weather for Zebeth Duran.
Thank you, Gina. And the most delicious meats right there at Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, it's true. Whether it's the prime ribs or the smoked hams, or whether it's the bacons and the sausages or the bratwurst, the list goes on and on. Don Scarrow and the crew have really done a great job working for you with the most delicious meats, where they say changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. at Scarrows Meats. Real quick, I also want to say a big thank you to our major sponsor, and we thank, of course, our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you for all that they do, and they do a lot, too. I mean, they've got all the traction tires for you, all your vehicles, cars, pickups, SUVs, and don't forget the tire change. We're going to get hit again with snow. You know that. It's around the corner. Just don't look. It's going to hit you right in the face. Wintertime's not over by a long shot, and the best in tire chains and all the front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, and they have the highly trained technicians for the best in brake service. That's not brag, that's a fact. You stop into any one of the 7 locations they can, and they will help you at Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, there's probably those in the audience that say, why didn't you ask him about that? Why didn't you ask him about this? We ran out of time, and I apologize for that. We only have so much within that hour, those segments. And we will have him back in the future to discuss more of this, the Bundy case, and then also the case with the Hammond family in Oregon. But I certainly want to say again, Ryan Bundy, thank you for taking the time and the effort to be on our program. I know the cell phones aren't the best, and I know that there was a little trouble in hearing him, but I do appreciate the effort that he put forth to be on our program this morning with an exclusive interview. Thank you very much. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06 for another great big program, Zeb at the Ranch. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. Have a good day. God bless.